the things he'd done? No, because he had grace on Abraham. He didn't deserve any of that stuff, Preston. He hadn't been a good man. He'd been a good man, but a lot of other people. God has grace on different people. We don't deserve to go to heaven, Preston. But by his grace, we can go there. He gives you a chance. He goes, I'm going to let you go to heaven, but you don't deserve that, But since you confess my son, I will let you in, even though you're unworthy. I'm going to go ahead and go to chapter 12. I'm going to start in verse 1. It says, Now the Lord had said unto Abraham, Get thee out of thy country, and from the kindred, and from thy father's house, and of the land where I will show thee. And I will make thee a great nation. I will bless thee, make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless thee, and curse them that curse thee. And these all families on the earth should be blessed. He's telling them, if you do what I tell you to, he says, get away from there. And he did. He halfway did. But like it said here, he waited 15 years after God had called him. He moved half of the way out of there. And yes, he did start, but God didn't give up on him. As you go all the way to Hebrews, they say, he's one of the first men of faith that put faith in there. Did God give up when he disappointed him the first time? He's saying, my gosh, I told you 15 years ago when his dad finally died. He said, well, now I ain't got enough. Now I've got no excuses for staying here. Now I've got no, I've used this excuse, my dad. I remember in the New Testament, I'm not sure, where people said, well, they said they want to follow Jesus, and he goes, before I do, I've got to go home and bury my dad. Well, his dad wasn't even dead yet. What he's saying, I want to go home and take care of my dad for so many years. He goes, no, let the dead bury. You can't, I want you to come now. When he asked you, you can't linger and not do what he says. You need to do that immediately, what he says. It said God called Abraham once and he obeyed. Then he disobeyed and stopped at Haran. God called him a second time. God always persists in calling. He keeps up on, he doesn't give up on us like I give up on things sometimes. I'll ask Elsie or James to do something, and if they don't do it, I get mad and give up. I'll just do it myself then. If you're not going to, and the thing is, God says, no, I'm going to ask you again. Yeah. And he keeps, how many times has he asked you, and you sit in there, and he's not gave up on you. He's come back. And he wants you to do, like he said, Michael, you could have been happy playing the piano. But he said, no, I want you to do more. I want you to be a preacher. I want you to do all this and this. And you say, well, Lord, I've done all this. What do you want? And he told you what he wanted, didn't he, Mike? He told you. He says, I want you to preach the gospel. Nothing else is going to satisfy. If he told you to preach, he's not going to be satisfied with you teaching or doing anything else. You have to. And did that take faith, Michael, to step out to do that? Or you say, oh, it'll be okay. And I was been watching a show on Billy Graham, and it was telling about he had his great revival around New York City. And 2 months before that, Billy Graham went out in the woods and was contemplating not preaching anymore. Because preachers and everything had told him, you can't preach the whole Bible. The whole Bible's not true. You can't preach salvation. You can't preach all that. And Billy Graham was, his head was just, he was called at this one conference to talk to these people, and none of them believed that. And he went out in there and found a stump, and he laid the Bible on me. He said, Lord, I believe this is your Bible. I believe the whole thing, everything in it's true. 2 months later, he went there to the revival. It was supposed to last 1 week. It lasted 8 weeks. Yeah. After the first week, he says, Lord, I've only got enough sermons for 1 week. I didn't think I was going to be here. Can you imagine that might going to be someplace for 2 months? And he says, I don't have enough. They said there were thousands, and I think they said 850,000 people came total. And there was gangsters. The guy that they started The Godfather about, one of the guys who was in there, he got saved and had his testimony. They showed it in black and white. They had another guy that was in World War II that was a good runner and everything. And then he was in a prison camp. he got saved. He came back and was an alcoholic and everything, and he gave his testimony. These people gave their testimonies and everything, and it was just great. But if Billy Graham says, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it, Lord. You know, I can't believe everything. If you don't believe the whole Bible is true, Preston, you might as well throw it out the door. If you're going to tell me, Michael, Jimmy, we're not going about the Old Testament no more. We're a New Testament church, so don't teach anything. We're not talking about that. Don't mention Moses anymore. I'm going to ask you, Michael, I'm going to have to get out of here. You know, even if I don't have anybody, I know the whole thing is true or it's all a lie. Yeah. Because what does the Old Testament tell us about? It tells about Jesus Christ coming from the very beginning in Genesis. It tells about how Satan's going to be crushed from the very beginning to the end. So how do you decide what's true and what's not true? Yeah. Where do you take your steps? So I believe this. I don't believe that. That's hard. I don't believe that Noah's. There's a little kid that says, well, I believe in Jesus. That Noah stuff's kind of strange getting on it. And the thing is, that's by faith. By faith. You have to believe by faith. I'm saved by faith. It's nothing that I've done. And I didn't see Jesus die on the cross, but I know he did. He said he took my sins away, and I know he did. Now he says he has a home prepared for me, and I know he does. I don't see that stuff, but I believe by faith. How many times you talked about chapter 11 in Hebrews, like the faith chapter, but faith.
Amen.
The definition of faith is, it's something, you can't see it, but it'll affect in there. You got to believe it. You said, well, if he would just prove to me, that's not faith.
Right.
When we get to heaven, we're not going to have faith anymore because we're going to see everything that we had. I'm going to go to verse 4. And this is chapter 12. And so Abraham departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him, and Abraham was 75 years old. So don't tell me you're too old to do anything, Preston. Right. He was 75. He had a kid when he was 100. I don't want to hear it, Tom. I don't want to hear it. I'm 65. Lord. And I'm sure he said, what are you talking? What do you think he said? Remember when he told Sarah what was going to happen? She laughed. She goes, I didn't laugh. He goes, you laughed when I told you was having a baby. And that's what's going to happen. And he departed out of Haran. And Abraham took Sarah his wife, and Lot his brother, and all their substances they gathered, and their souls, and they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth into a land of Canaan, into a land of Canaan they came. And Abraham passed through the land unto the place of Shechem, and unto the plain of Morah, and the Canaanite was then in. And the Lord appeared unto Abraham, and unto thy seed I will give this land. And there built an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east side of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west, and Ai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called on the name of the Lord. And Abraham journeyed going on. This is, as he got there, that's his first altar. God told him, he got down there and he dedicated his life to the Lord. Does that mean he always? No. Right after he did this, he goofed up big time. I mean, he really, really bad. He goofed up after. But right then, he got at the Bethel. He prayed down there and he said, Lord, I'm dedicating myself to you. I don't know where you're taking me. I have no idea what it is, but I'm going to follow you. And the Lord took that in there and he says, I'm glad that you're doing this. But see, actions are louder than words. I'm saying all this, then all of a sudden when I leave there, I do something different. It's because I see what's going on in the world, Michael. I see what's going on in the world. I see I don't have any money to pay my bill and everything. And God says, well, I want you to do this. I can't do that, Lord. I have to do this. I want you to do this. I will take care of you. The man of faith, Abraham, had a problem with that. I know I should be calling him by their other names, Sarai and Abram. But my Sunday school book doesn't, so I'm not either, because I know I'll get confused. But they They changed their names. I was telling Elsie that, I could change her name. And I said, I couldn't think of anything with Elsie, so I said, I'm going to call you Elmo. She didn't like that. She didn't like that much. Like I said, that was the first in there. But God changed. How many times did he change people's names from Israel? Different things when you do that, when you step out. So right now he's built him an altar. He's prayed to the Lord, dedicated himself. And there was a famine in the land. So he looked where he was supposed to go, and it looked bad, Michael. There was a famine. There wasn't no grass growing. The thing is, don't you think God can take care of that if he told you to go there? Don't you think, he's looking at man, this looks really bad. Everything's dying, water's dried up. And he's looking, he goes, you know where I need to go? Egypt. Egypt's mentioned 600 times in the Bible. Almost every time they mention Egypt, they mention it as the world. Egypt is of man. So he's turning from Canaan, what God wanted him going, into Egypt, the world. And let me tell you some of the things he did in Egypt. They were not good. And he not only messed himself up, he messed his wife up, he messed the leader, and everything. And what was that because? Lack of faith. He didn't believe God could carry him. He said, somebody come here. Look at this field out here. There's nothing there. Let me go to Egypt.
Well, when we step out in faith, we should expect opposition from different.
Well, if he tells you,
I mean, it was silly, but like the weather this morning, it's, you get ready, you prepare yourself, you get excited to come in and worship. Like, this is the first time our whole family's been able to come to church in forever, and then all of a sudden, the heavens open up and we see all this snow. But it's one of those things. It's like, you know what, we should expect that and say, you know what?
well, Satan's going to throw things in the way.
Yeah, I mean, if this was Monday morning, we'd probably still be going to work. So
You'd still go to work, yeah.
So we'll just come into God's house and worship.
Okay, I'm going to go back again. I'm starting in verse 10. It says, there was famine in the land, and Abraham went down. You ever notice most of the time they're talking, he goes down into Egypt. Egypt is not good. I think a lot of things about Egypt, and most of them are bad. I remember they were captives. The Israelites were captive. Egypt is not a good place to go down. Egypt is going into the world, and God has repaid Egypt for all the bad things that they've done to the Israelites and everything. And he knows how evil, and he repays these countries. To sojourn there, but there was a famine with grievous in land, and it came to pass when he come near entering Egypt, that he said to his wife Sarai, behold, now I know that thou art a fair woman. Every place in there, she was a good-looking woman. And he was worried something was going to happen. To look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, this is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save thee alive. Say, I pray thee, that thou art my sister. I mean, yes. Later on we'll find out it's a half. It's still a half lie. It's a lie. That it may be well for me for thy sake, and my soul and live because of thee. And it came past when Abraham went come to Egypt. The Egyptians beheld the woman that she was a very fair. The princess was also fair that saw her, and he commended her before Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entered Abraham well for her sake, and he gave him sheep and oxen and manservant and maidservants and she-asses and casses and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh in his house with great plague because of Sarai's Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called unto Abram, What is this that thou hast done to me? Why dost thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why sayest thou she is my sister? So I might have taken her to be my wife. Now therefore, behold thy wife, take her and go away. And Pharaoh commanded his hand concerning, and he sent him away. And they sent him away, and his wife, and all that he had. So he come in there before he gave God a chance to even to go in there to the other country and try to deal with the famine, he went in there and he made up his mind, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell everybody that she's my sister. And the thing is, you can blame Abraham, but Sarai, I know he had to listen to her, but she obeyed too. She says, yes, I'm his sister. And right away, they gave him all kind of stuff for it, but Pharaoh suffered. And Pharaoh found out, he said, this isn't right. She's your wife. Why did you leave me? I didn't do anything. Why didn't you tell me that in here? Go in here. Go get out of here. But when he left, he took all this stuff that he had. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think he took Hagar with him. I mean, later on, right there, right in there. I mean, the grief did not stop there. I mean, the grief just keeps getting in there. Sin follows sin and after sin. And once disobedience, there's more disobedience. You have to be fully obedient. You can't be halfway obedient. If my dad told me to go out and do something, and I half did it, if he told me to feed the cows and the pigs, and I only fed the cows and the pigs all starved, he would not be happy with me. You know how that is. You have to be obedient. When God tells you to do something, you can't pick and choose what you want to do.
It's amazing how many times in the Bible, well, people who aren't Christians, I've done too much wrong. I can't become a Christian. But if you show them in the Bible where Abraham, and Moses, and Saul, later Paul, did. I mean, look at some of the stuff they did, and some of them were some of the greatest champions for God.
What did Paul say? I am the chief among sinners. I stood there and watched Stephen get stoned and held their coats. And I know people, I've had people tell me that. I had a woman said my husband was in World War II. And they had some of the prisoners they couldn't take with them, and they had to kill them just because they had to do that. He said that's what their orders were. He said you can't take care of them and keep going. And he says he never could forgive him. God can forgive. It was an act of war. No, was it right doing that? No, it was wrong. It was evil. But God forgives. Noah had killed somebody. Killed a slave. God did. And look at Saul did. And Paul did in terms of Paul. God can forgive you no matter what you do. You know, you have to remember, God knows the Lord when, but He knows your heart, Tom. He knows what you did. Look at David. Look at David. Oh my gosh, David committed adultery, tried to cover it up, and did all these other things. Then all of a sudden, he has a guy killed. Then Nathan comes in and tells him the story, and he's getting all mad about it, and he goes, "Thou art a man."